But
live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Preeti Kaur. Coming up in the next 1 hour. India's External Affairs Minister delivers India's national statement at the 19th NAM Summit, highlights challenges of COVID, climate change, conflict, debt and inflation. India launches Alliance for Global Good, Gender Equity and Equality at World Economic Forum in Davos. US President Biden speaks with Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu, reviews Gaza situation, efforts to secure release of remaining hostages also discussed. In sports, Indian shuttlers Chirag-Satwik and Prannoy storm into the semifinals of India Open. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar delivered India's national statement at the 19th NAM Summit in Kampala. Dr. S. Jaishankar touched upon a number of issues, including food, energy and health and security. He also highlighted the challenges of COVID, climate change, debt, inflation and conflict. Besides, he also pushed for reform at the United Nations. Dr. S. Jaishankar emphasized on India's unwavering commitment as Vishwamitra to global solidarity and cooperation. He also emphasized the need for NAM to challenge concentrations that undermine our economic security. Dr. S. Jaishankar also reiterated India's commitment to the NAM principles and its belief in Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, emphasizing that the world is a family. On the Gaza conflict, Dr. S. Jaishankar stressed that the humanitarian crisis requires a sustainable solution that gives immediate relief. He added that terrorism and hostage-taking are unacceptable. He said the conflict must not spread. The minister also added that as the NAM, we must respond to these challenges. A multipolar world with a reformed United Nations at its core is the key. In the series of bilateral meetings and engagements at the NAM Summit in Uganda, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar met with his counterparts from Bahrain, Bolivia, Azerbaijan and Venezuela on Friday. Dr. S. Jaishankar met with the Bahraini Foreign Minister, Dr. Abdul Latif bin Rashid Al Zayani. Dr. S. Jaishankar shared on X, and I quote him, "Always good to meet Bahraini Foreign Minister Dr. Abdul Latif bin Rashid Al Zayani, discussed ongoing developments in the region." Also taking to X, Dr. S. Jaishankar also shared about his meeting with the Venezuelan Foreign Minister, saying, "Good meeting with Venezuelan Foreign Minister Juan Gil, discussed our economic, energy and development cooperation, exchanged views on regional and global issues." In conversation with his Azerbaijan counterpart, the minister discussed bilateral relations and regional matters. Dr. S. Jaishankar also held a meeting with his Bolivian counterpart, Selene da Sousa, and discussed cooperation in development and traditional medicine. Dr. S. Jaishankar also discussed bilateral relations with his Serbian counterpart and posted on X, and I quote him, "Delighted to meet Serbian Foreign Minister Ivica Dacic, discussed advancing our time-based bilateral partnership, exchanged assessment on respective regions." India's Minister of State for External Affairs, V. Muralidharan, will be on a 3-day visit to Uganda's capital, Kampala. During his visit, he will participate in the 3rd South Summit of the Group of 77 and China. The theme of the summit is "Leaving No One Behind," and it sits in line with India's vision of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. The world is one family, and leaders of this cross-regional group will meet with the aim of strengthening cooperation among its 134 member states. During the summit, India's Minister of State for MEA will deliver India's national statement and hold bilateral engagements with his counterparts, especially from the G77 member states. He will also interact with the Indian community in Uganda. India has announced the establishment of the Alliance for Global Good, Gender Equity and Equality on the sidelines of the ongoing World Economic Forum 2024 at Davos. The idea of this alliance emerged from the G20 leaders' declaration and India's abiding commitment to the cause of women-led development as propounded by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The primary and stated objective of this new alliance is to bring together global best practices, knowledge sharing and investments in the identified areas of women's health, education and enterprise. The alliance will be taking forward the commitments of the G20 leaders for the benefit of the larger global community as a follow-up to the activities of the engagement group and initiatives under the G20 framework, inter alia the Business 20, Women 20 and G20 Empower. The alliance has garnered support from industry leaders and over 10,000 partners from the industry. Supported by Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the alliance will be housed and anchored by the CII Center for Women Leadership. The meeting of the World Economic Forum in Davos concluded on Friday. Political and business leaders from across the globe met to discuss cooperation around AI, misinformation, climate and diplomacy. The theme of the forum was rebuilding trust, while on the final day at a panel at the World Economic Forum also discussed trends shaping the Middle East region in 2024. We get you a detailed report.
The World Economic Forum meeting concluded in Davos, Switzerland, under the theme of rebuilding trust. On Friday, political and business leaders from across the globe met to discuss cooperation around AI, misinformation, climate and diplomacy. WEF President Borge Brande said in his closing remarks that it is not possible to face global challenges alone.
There's no longer such a thing as a country, company or community insulated from global shocks. And when it comes to leveraging opportunities, it is not possible to do so alone.
On the final day of the forum, a panel at the WEF also discussed trends shaping the Middle East region in 2024.
I think that there's a growing acknowledgement that conflict in the world, particularly such as in the Middle East, must be resolved before one can actually get the trust in the economy, get the supply lines going, get a just system going and stability in the world. So I think that that realization is part of the rebuilding trust, that the Western powers and the Northern powers understand that their role in fueling conflict is not going to be helping the global economy.
India's Minister of Petroleum, Hardeep Singh Puri, and IT Minister Ashwani Vaishnav represented India at the annual meet. India's Women and Child Development Minister, Smriti Irani, too, was present to highlight reforms taken in India with regard to women empowerment. The minister said India also announced the setting up of an alliance for global good, gender equity and equality on the sidelines of the World Economic Forum.
Facts, meaning
WEF's annual meeting took place in Switzerland's Davos from 15 to 19th January. The forum provides a global platform for meaningful connections between stakeholders to establish trust and build initiatives for cooperation and progress.
Smart City Mission Conclave is being held in New Delhi at the Exhibition Centre. The Ministry of Housing and Urban Development displayed several models of different smart cities of India. DD India correspondent Divendra Mondal has more on this.
We are at the Smart City Convergence in New Delhi, and the government Smart City mission has been a flagship mission of this government. How the face of the city is changing and becoming more smart. I'll go to Vishal, who will explain us about the Smart City Udaipur.
In this project, we have upgraded the existing utilities, including the sewer network, water network, electrical network, and for the water network, we have laid a new water line in the old city of Udaipur, and rehabilitate the old sewer network with the new one. And we have underground the overhead electrical power lines through duct, and we have covered the open drains. Through this infrastructure, we have helped the citizen of Udaipur.
I'm here at the Venkatesh Lok project of Satna, which is also a unique project because it's a temple town which has been redeveloped and it's part of the smart city mission. What features of smartness do we see in this smart city of Satna?
Yeah, so this is a very excellent project which shows the amalgamation of the religious aspects with the vibrant public spaces in a smart city. Now, Satna Smart City took this project of the development of not only the temple precinct but also the adjoining area. With a cost of around 9 crores, they developed the main temple, its adjacent areas, and the very unique prospects of this project is the 10 avatars of Lord Vishnu. You can see there is a lot of developments for making it a vibrant public spaces. Like there are parks and there are recreational spaces also, food courts also, and then for cleanliness purpose there are cleaning areas also, admin blocks also. So now because of this development, the footfall in this area has increased dramatically.
We can move further, not just cities, but also the government is trying to build a digital library of sorts where, we are at the digitization of manuscripts in Prayagraj, which is a unique project because remember, it's a holy city where several manuscripts, religious manuscripts, as well as other important documents are there. But the government under the Smart City Mission project is trying to digitize the manuscripts and preserve it forever. There will be 100 such cities in the coming years across India, which will become smart, which will become more energy efficient, and there are multiple aspects of smart city that makes a city look smart. With camera person Sunny Kalra, this is Divyendu Mondal from New Delhi for DD India.
India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi will visit various significant temples in southern Indian state of Tamil Nadu over the weekend. Prime Minister will participate in a program at Sri Ranganatha Swami Temple in Tamil Nadu's Tiruchirappalli. Prime Minister will also listen to various scholars reciting verses from the Kamba Ramayanam in this temple. Located in Sri Rangam, Trichy, the temple is one of the most ancient temple complexes in the country and finds mention in various ancient texts, including the Puranas and the Sangam era texts. Prime Minister will offer prayers at Sri Arulmigo Ramanatha Swami Temple in Rameswaram. He will witness the chanting of the Ramayana in multiple languages. The Prime Minister will also participate in Bhajan Sandhya, where multiple devotional songs would be sung at the temple complex in the evening. And DD India correspondent Ritesh Ranjan joins us for more. Ritesh, good morning. We've just given a broad outline of what all the Prime Minister will be doing in Tamil Nadu today. Spell out more details. What significance do we attach to the Prime Minister's visit?
Well, Preeti, yesterday only this Prime Minister have come to Tamil Nadu for inauguration of Khelo India. And this is the 6th edition of Khelo India, which was inaugurated. And first time it is happening in Tamil Nadu. And this is first time that, any Prime Minister is visiting religious places, which is very much important in Hindu mythology. Talking about this is Sri Ranganatha Swami Temple in Trichy. It is a very much important temple. Why? Because after winning the Sri Lanka war, Rama, when he was coming back, so he stayed there for a long time in this Sri Rangam temple. And he offered puja to Lord Vishnu. And that's why, there are like more than 40 idols and deities which people are worshipping there. And Lord Rama was worshipping here for a very long time. He was there with Sita ji, Lakshman ji, and Hanuman and all other his followers who were there, who took part in Sri Lanka war. So this is very much important here, this temple, and this, the architecture of this temple is very interesting to see. That we have. It is said that 1,000 pillars are there in this temple, and now we can only see 953 or something pillar is seen. But then there are like 21 Gopuram. And this temple, there are many myths about it. Myths about, in a sense, people say that, once when Rama was, he was sending back to Vibhishan, to Sri Lanka. when he was going back, he actually gave one statue to Vibhishan to take it to Sri Lanka. But then what happened is Vibhishan got some dream, or he met Lord Vishnu came and he gave darshan to Vibhishan, and he said, I want to stay here. And then after that only this temple was formed. Eventually, after, as time passes by, many other kings and people have, built up this temple. They have beautified this temple. There was many myths about it, about this temple. That and the specialty of this temple is, the Lord Vishnu is sleeping on Sheshanag, and this is first of its kind. And when I happened to read one article, there is a priest of this temple. He was saying this is first time that Prime Minister is coming. Any Prime Minister is coming. First time Prime Minister is coming to this temple to offer prayer. So people are very much excited. Security is tightened up. That's why, temple administration and district collector have issued a notice, an order that from yesterday 6 p.m. till 2 p.m. today, there won't be any visitor. Nobody would be allowed to come inside the temple.
All right, Ritesh, we'll leave it here. Thank you so much for joining in with those details. So that was our correspondent Ritesh joining us and telling us more about the significance of the visit of Prime Minister to the temple there in Trichy. Up next, we're heading for a short break, but when we come back, we'll tell you. In fact, you stay with us as we acquaint you with one of the most expensive Ramayanas, costing a whopping $2,000 US. In the run-up to the big event on 22nd January, Ayodhya sparkles with a vibrant laser show. We get you a sneak peek ahead. A drone show amuses spectators at the Wings India 2024 event at Begumpet Airport in India's Hyderabad.
We are taking up the legend of our great epic, the Ramayana, and how it has influenced so many parts of Asia and beyond.
In Indonesia, Thailand, Laos, Cambodia, Singapore, Malaysia, you can think of all these areas where Ramayana is like, it's just a living thing. And their ballets and their dances and the music, they are all performing. It is just not itihasa alone, history alone, but it's a living being which has a place in every heart.
We are taking up the legend of our great epic, the Ramayana, and how it has influenced so many parts of Asia and beyond.
In Indonesia, Thailand, Laos, Cambodia, Singapore, Malaysia, you can think of all these areas where Ramayana is like, it's just a living thing. And their ballets and their dances and the music, they are all performing. It is just not itihasa alone, history alone, but it's a living being which has a place in every heart.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India News Hour, and now we get you all the buzz surrounding the consecration of the Ram Temple at Ayodhya on 22nd January. We'll get you visuals from the magnificent Ram Temple in the holy city of Ayodhya. In the heart of Ayodhya, where history seamlessly intertwines with spirituality, a monumental transformation is underway. The craftsmanship is awe-inspiring, and this is a testament to India's rich cultural heritage. So those were the visuals of the inside of the premises. And ahead of the consecration ceremony of the temple in Ayodhya, Sri Ram Janmabhoomi Tirth Kshetra Trust released the entry pass for the mega event. Entry to the temple would be allowed after scanning the QR code mentioned in the entry pass. The invitation card alone does not guarantee entry in the ceremony. One of the most expensive editions of Ramayana, which costs around $2,000 and weighs 45 kilograms, reached Ayodhya. In the lineup with the Ram temple, the outer box of the holy book has 3 floors made of American walnut wood. The ink used has been imported from Japan and the paper is made in France. The speciality of this paper is that this book will remain like this for about 400 years and its printing will not fade and people of 4 generations can read this book comfortably. Amid the surge of enthusiasm among people for the consecration ceremony of Ram Temple in Ayodhya, the premises were decked up with flowers. Over 1,100 tons of flowers were brought to decorate the temple for the big day on January 22nd. Paving the way for the upcoming consecration ceremony of Lord Ram Temple, Ayodhya is sparkling with a vibrant laser show. Set to occur on January 22nd, the ceremony at the sacred city of Ayodhya will witness large number of guests. Ayodhya, with rich history of mythology, has been decked up ahead of the consecration ceremony. All right, DD India correspondent Siddharth Bhardwaj joins us from Ayodhya. Siddharth, good morning. We've told our viewers how Ayodhya is sparkling and glittering these days. You tell us, you're there. Are the preparations in place? Is the stage all set for the big event on January 22nd?
Well, definitely, Preeti, a very good morning to you from the temple town, the holy city of Ayodhya. And you know, when it comes to the preparations, Preeti, then preparations are certainly in full swing here in Ayodhya. Everything is just set up and everyone is just waiting for the big day. You know, the January 22nd, when consecration of Ram Temple will take place. You know, it's daytime and you can see, you know, the vibrance behind me as well, you know, and this is the scene where people enter in Ayodhya. So this is what is happening in Ayodhya. And you know, as the day goes through, the excitement is just building up with each passing day as people are just waiting for the big day, like I said. Security measures have also been put in place and security is certainly tight, you know, because around more than 7,000, 8,000 invitees will be there and they are VVIPs. So the security has to be tight, you know, and when I talk about security is robust and comprehensive here in Ayodhya. You know, everything's been taken care of. Different units have been deployed here, like CRPF, RPF. You have ATF as well, paramilitary force to make sure that everything goes smooth and fine and everything goes in streamline, Preeti. So this is what is happening in Ayodhya. And you know, the devotees, pilgrims, students, they are just jumping in joy each day, every day. There are cultural programs which are happening. You know, and people are just chanting Jai Shri Ram here in Ayodhya. Everywhere you see, on every chalk you see, people are just gathering and, you know, immersing themselves in the divine rituals which are happening here in Ayodhya. So all in all, it's a vibrant atmosphere here in Ayodhya. And when I talk about the mood, it's certainly, you know, giving you a different level of vibe, Preeti.
All right. Thank you so much, Siddharth, for joining in with those details. And India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi shared hymns and stories of Lord Ram sung by people of Mauritius. In a tweet, the Prime Minister mentioned, and I quote him, "The wonderful people of Mauritius have preserved their traditions and this includes Ram Bhakti through kathas and bhajans. Great to see such deep cultural roots and devotion thriving for so many years." India will be celebrating the 75th Republic Day on 26th of January. French President Emmanuel Macron will be the chief guest, and marching contingents as well as the Rafale aircraft from France will also be part of the flypast by Indian Air Force.
This year we'll have the chief guest from France. The French President Emmanuel Macron will be the chief guest, and we will have a Air Force contingent from France with 2 Rafale aircraft and 1 transport aircraft.
The theme of this year is going to be Viksit Bharat or Developed India. 16 states of India and 9 union government departments will be displaying their tableaus at Kartavya Path.
Honorable Prime Minister has been stressing that India is the actual mother of democracy. In line with that theme of importance of the democracy historically in India, Bharat Loktantra ki Matruka. This will be main theme of this year's Republic Day.
13,000 special guests have been invited to witness the parade this year. The objective is to provide an opportunity to the people from all walks of life to take part in the national festival in line with the government's vision of Jan Bhagidari.
Who are these special guests? The achievers in various sectors. Prime Minister's special attention was towards the patent holders. India has been lacking in scientific research paper generation, patent and copyright generation for quite some time. So to give a boost, the patent granting regime and copyright granting regime have been recently liberalized, and we have requested several of the patent holders who got the patents recently to come and be represented at the Republic Day parade.
The Republic Day parade rehearsals are in full swing in India's capital ahead of the 75th Republic Day celebrations on 26th of January. The full dress rehearsal will take place on 23rd January. The security arrangements in New Delhi have been enhanced. The landing and takeoff of non-scheduled flights and charter flights have been restricted from 19th to 25th of January. On 26th of January, no flights will be allowed to take off or land during the restricted hours in Delhi. Let's take a look at other stories making it to the headlines from across India. The Amrit Udyan of the Rashtrapati Bhavan of India will open for public viewing from February 2nd to March 31st. People can visit the Udyan 6 days a week except on Mondays. Walk-in visitors have to register themselves at the facilitation counters at the Rashtrapati Bhavan. Amrit Udyan is the iconic garden in India's President House. The annual dolphin census in the Indian state of Odisha's Chilika Lake is scheduled to begin on Saturday. Last year, a total of 173 dolphins were seen in Chilika Lake, in which 154 were Irrawaddy and 19 were bottlenose dolphins. The counting will be done through GPS, binoculars and modern technology. Every year, the Chilika Forest and Chilika Development Authority calculates the number of Irrawaddy dolphins in the lake. A drone show was organized at Begumpet Airport in India's Hyderabad as part of the Wings India 2024 event. It is the largest civil aviation event in Asia. The event includes exhibitions, demonstration of the flights, static displays, media conferences and business meetings. We're heading for a short break, but still to come on this edition of DD India News Hour, US carries out another round of fresh strikes against Houthis in Yemen. Japan makes historic landing on moon, becomes the 5th country to achieve the successful moon landing. Marred by poor living conditions, Benito, the mascot giraffe of Ciudad Juarez, is set to be relocated for a better life.
India that invents. India that innovates. India that excites. India that invites. Land of possibility. Teeming with opportunities. Watch India Ideas each Thursday, 8 p.m. only on DD India.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India News Hour. A quick relook at the top stories once again. India's External Affairs Minister delivers India's national statement at 19th NAM Summit, highlights the challenges of COVID, climate change, conflict, debt and inflation. India launches Alliance for Global Good, Gender Equity and Equality at the World Economic Forum in Davos. US President Biden speaks with Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu, reviews the Gaza situation, efforts to secure release of remaining hostages also discussed. In sports, Indian shuttlers Chirag-Satwik and Prannoy storm into the semifinals of India Open. US President Joe Biden said that he had a conversation with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Friday regarding the potential alternatives for the establishment of an independent state for the Palestinians, keeping in mind that not every nation has its own armed forces. The White House stated that Biden and Netanyahu had their first phone conversation in almost a month and that the two leaders discussed ways to secure the remaining hostages held by Hamas and to further facilitate humanitarian aid to Gaza. Biden said Israeli Prime Minister did not oppose all two-state solutions, and there are a number of other possibilities too.
A number of types of two-state solutions. There's a number of countries that are members of the UN that are still don't have their own military. A number of states that have limitations on them. And so I think there's ways in which this could work.
U.S. Central Command forces on Friday conducted strikes against 3 Houthi anti-ship missiles that were aimed into the southern Red Sea. The U.S. military on social media platform X said, and I quote, "The U.S. forces in fact identified the missiles in Houthi-controlled areas of Yemen and determined that they presented an imminent threat to the merchant vessels and the U.S. Navy ships in the region." The U.S. forces subsequently struck and destroyed the missiles in self-defense. The latest incident took place around 15:45 GMT on Friday. The United Nations said the world body is very concerned about North Korea's test of its underwater nuclear weapons system. UN spokesman Stephen Dujarric, in a media briefing, reiterated the Secretary General's call for de-escalation and the full implementation of the Security Council resolutions.
We have seen this development and we remain concerned and very concerned about the current situation on the Korean Peninsula. Again, the Secretary General reiterates his call for de-escalation, the full implementation of Security Council resolutions, and for the creation of an environment that's conducive to dialogue and the resumption of talks, of diplomatic talks, which are frankly the only possible path forward.
Indicating that significant policy changes were required, U.S. President Joe Biden stated on Friday that he is hopeful that the U.S.-Mexico border will work out next week, at least in the democratically controlled Senate. Republicans in Congress have blocked Ukraine's emergency funds in an attempt to impose extra border security measures. They blame the surge of immigrants into the U.S. on Biden's policies.
With a bipartisan group of senators to negotiate a deal, including border, because I believe we need significant policy changes at the border, including changes in our asylum system to ensure that we have the authorities we need to control the border. And I'm ready to act.
In an effort to reduce an unprecedented migrant surge at the U.S.-Mexico shared border, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken met Mexico's Foreign Minister Alicia Bárcena. Friday's meeting follows previous talks in late December last year, which Blinken stated had seen great progress. Last year, a record number of migrants attempted to cross the US-Mexico border illegally. More than 500,000 migrants crossed the dangerous Darien Gap from South America into Central America.
Also, since our last meeting, I think a very significant development in President Arevalo being inaugurated in Guatemala. This opens an important new area for cooperation on migration between our three countries. And we will continue to work together more broadly to develop regional solutions to the historic challenge that we face. But in all of this, our partnership, our work together could not be more valuable, more important.
Calling drug trafficking a regional problem, Ecuador's President Daniel Noboa asked the governments in Latin American zone to take a united front in the war against it. Noboa was speaking to a Colombian media outlet on Friday. During his interview, he added that Ecuador will also make efforts to extradite foreign prisoners from Ecuadorian prisons.
I think the region, not only Colombia, has allowed for this problem to grow in an uncontrolled way. We must stay together to fight this. It is a regional and worldwide problem. The consumption of these products is in United States, in Europe. There is an old agreement about prisoners' exchange. Our law says that any foreign prisoner with a sentence of 5 years or more can be returned to its country. We have an overflow of over 3,000 people in our prisons. Today, besides the fact we cannot handle the amount of prisoners we have, as a nation we are spending more money in foreign prisoners than in the school breakfast for a child.
Argentine authorities detained and deported family and associates of the fugitive Ecuadorian drug trafficker Jose Adolfo Meirelles, who had escaped from the Ecuadorian prison on January 7th. Addressing a media conference, Argentine Security Minister Patricia Bullrich informed that a total of 8 people were detained who had arrived in Argentina in early January. Also known as Fito, Meirelles was serving a 34-year sentence for various crimes, including drug trafficking and murder. Slain Ecuadorian prosecutor Cesar Suarez was laid to rest on Friday in Las Anonas Cemetery after the funeral procession at a chapel in his hometown. Suarez was shot dead earlier this week in Guayaquil while traveling for a court hearing. He was in charge of prosecuting organized crime cases in the province of Guayas, and he was also investigating the recent TV station attack. Calling upcoming protests against right-wing extremists good and right, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz addressed the countrymen in a video message. Scholz supported the weekend protests, calling right-wing extremism an attack on democracy. Scholz also welcomed a new law that shortens the path to citizenship and eases deportation rules. The planned protests are in response to a meeting of far-right figures in Berlin, which discussed the concept of remigration. Shortly after the video release, around 35,000 people took to the streets to demonstrate against the far-right Alternative for Germany, an organization under investigation by security authorities at risk of being declared an extremist organization.
Von Köln bis Dresden, von Tübingen bis Kiel.
Again this weekend, there are a lot of demonstrations planned against the right-wing extremist enemies of our democracy. I find that's right and good. If there is something in Germany which must never ever find a place again, it is the national race ideology of the Nazis. The repulsive relocation plans by these extremists is just that.
Let's get to election updates from the U.S. now. Republican presidential candidate and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis said that there is a segment of the Republican voter base that don't want to do the Trump thing again, but who bought into the idea of inevitability during a campaign on Friday in New Hampshire. DeSantis came in a distant second to former President Donald Trump in Monday's Iowa caucuses, the first Republican presidential nominating contest.
It's a little chilly, not as chilly as Iowa, but it's... Look, I'm not a political prognosticator. Here's the deal. Republican voters, we saw in Iowa, half wanted him, half didn't, roughly. The turnout was abysmal. There's terrible enthusiasm right now based off that result. We'll see what happens here. And I think it's because you have some folks on our side who don't want to do the Trump thing again. And they checked out. And they checked out of the caucus. These were folks we were courting to be able to come out. And they didn't because I think they bought into the idea of the inevitability.
U.S. Senator Tim Scott endorsed frontrunner Donald Trump for another term at the White House at a rally in New Hampshire on Friday night. Republican Senator Tim Scott's endorsement of his former rival Trump comes as a blow to Nikki Haley. Tim Scott had campaigned against Donald Trump for the Republican presidential nomination. The move by Scott comes just 4 days before the pivotal Republican nominating contest in New Hampshire, in which Trump is facing off against Haley, a former South Carolina governor who first appointed Scott to the U.S. Senate. Scott is the latest conservative U.S. lawmaker to endorse Trump, who won Iowa's caucus on Monday by a historic margin. A United Nations report said that up to 15,000 people were killed in one city in Sudan's West Darfur last year due to ethnic violence by the Rapid Support Forces and Arab militia. In the report to the UN Security Council, independent UN sanctions monitors attributed the toll in El Geneina to intelligence sources and contrasted it with the UN estimate that about 12,000 people have been killed across Sudan since the war erupted on April 15th last year. The monitors also described as credible the acquisitions that the UAE had provided military support to the RSF several times per week in northern Chad. A top Sudanese general accused the United Arab Emirates in November of backing the RSF war effort. Japan's Moon Sniper lander touched down on the lunar surface on Saturday, the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency said. With this, Japan has become the 5th nation to put a spacecraft to the moon. But the agency said that it will still be checking its status as its solar panels were not able to generate electricity. The Smart Lander for Investigating Moon, or the SLIM, came down onto the lunar surface at around 12:20 a.m. Tokyo time on Saturday. No astronauts were on board the aircraft. Other than Japan, only 4 nations, the former Soviet Union, the United States, China and India, have achieved a soft landing on the moon's surface. Several people gathered late at night in a Japanese city hall to witness the successful landing of the spacecraft.
Upon landing, the spacecraft has been transmitting data normally to the station in Japan. We are also able to confirm that the spacecraft is receiving commands correctly from Earth and responding to them. However, at the moment, we are not able to confirm that the solar panels are generating electricity.
Let's get to updates on weather now. Millions of residents of the United States remain under the grip of extreme cold weather that brought snow, freezing temperatures and unsafe travel conditions. Heavy freezing rain warning issued as a new wave of extreme cold and snow is expected to sweep through the central and eastern United States, which may intensify travel hazards and ushering in a brutally cold weekend. The Federal Emergency Management Agency of the U.S. launches a disaster relief reform as climate-driven events such as floods, fires and cold have increased over the years. Tesla drivers face challenges amid freezing temperatures in Chicago, as many of the cars sat in long lines at the supercharger stations after the cold sapped the electric vehicles' normal ability to charge. Some endured hours-long wait in the bitter cold, leaving the car owners with vehicles they could no longer drive due to lack of power. The incident highlights the vulnerability of electric vehicles in extreme weather conditions. Tesla recommends maintaining a charge level above 20% when not plugged in to minimize the impact of cold temperatures on the battery. Milwaukee in the state of Wisconsin gets frozen in snowy landscape days after snowstorms moved across the region. Milwaukee was one of the major cities to be hit by heavier snowfall and blizzards last week. Damaging weather conditions delay thousands of flights and cut off power to hundreds of thousands of homes and businesses across the U.S. A wind chill advisory was placed in effect till Saturday for south central and southwestern Wisconsin. Authorities say cold temperatures will continue throughout the weekend. A small plane made an emergency landing on a Virginia highway moments after taking off from Dulles International Airport, one of the major airports in Washington, D.C. 7 people were on board on the Cessna 208 aircraft when it landed. Roughly 35 minutes after taking off, no cause for the emergency landing was immediately known. The Federal Aviation Administration said that it will investigate the incident. The airport remains open for takeoffs and landings. A quick look at other stories making it to the headlines from across the world. A giraffe in Mexico named Benito is set to be relocated from a public park in Ciudad Juarez to a wildlife sanctuary in Puebla after activists of the group Save Benito denounced the poor conditions he was living in. Benito arrived in Ciudad in May 2023 to become the city's mascot, but was living alone in a small cage for the past 8 months. A 65-year-old man was rescued by a state police officer with the help of a man's dog, Ruby, after he fell into a frozen lake in Michigan. The officer attached an orange rescue disc to the dog's collar. Through commands, Ruby was able to take the rescue disc to her owner, who was pulled to safety by the officer and a firefighter. 44 Serbian Orthodox Christian worshippers took part in a winter swimming race at the Ciganlija Lake in Belgrade in a ritual marking Epiphany celebrations on Friday. The ritual commemorates the baptism of Jesus Christ in the Jordan River. The length of the race is 33 meters, one for each year of Jesus' life. We're heading for a short break, but still to come on this edition of DD India News Hour. IMF approves the first review of Ghana's loan program, allows immediate disbursement of about $600 million. Novak Djokovic eases into the 4th round in the 100th match in Melbourne. Stay with us for all the action from the Australian Open. We'll show you how London's Canary Wharf district is glittering in lights as part of the annual Winter Lights Festival.
India that invents. India that innovates. India that excites. India that invites. Land of possibilities. Teeming with opportunities. Watch India Ideas each Thursday, 8 p.m. only on DD India.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India News Hour, and up next we get to updates from the world of business. Indian stock exchanges NSE and BSE have a normal trading session on Saturday and a trading holiday on January 22nd due to the consecration ceremony. Earlier, the market was scheduled to hold special trading sessions in the equity and equity derivative segments in January to check their preparedness to handle major disruption or failure at the primary site. The International Monetary Fund's board on Friday approved a first review of Ghana's loan program, allowing for the immediate disbursement of about $600 million under its $3 billion bailout program on Friday. The decision comes after the gold, oil and cocoa producer reached a deal to restructure $5.4 billion of loans with its official creditors. It was a key step to unlocking the second tranche of IMF funding. Ghana requested the IMF for financial support in 2022 as it grappled with its worst economic crisis. Amid discussions about additional funding to Cairo, an IMF spokesperson said an International Monetary Fund team is currently in Cairo to discuss Egypt's $3 billion IMF loan and reform program. The spokesperson added the IMF Egypt mission chief, Latkova Holler will continue discussions on Egypt's reform program, supported by the IMF's Extended Fund Facility, and will communicate at the end of the visit. US President Joe Biden signed into law a stopgap bill on Friday, averting a partial government shutdown that will fund the federal government through early March, the White House said. The White House on Thursday passed a stopgap measure meant to allow Congress to negotiate and approve a $1.5 trillion spending deal negotiated by Democratic Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson for the 2024 fiscal year that began 1st October. The White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre said in a statement on Friday that the new measure prevents a needless shutdown, maintains current funding levels, and includes no extreme policies.
The president signed the continuing resolution passed by bipartisan majorities in the House and Senate that prevents a needless shutdown, maintains current funding levels, and includes no extreme policies. Instead of wasting more time on partisan appropriation bills that violate the budget agreement two-thirds of them voted for last spring, House Republicans must finally do their jobs and work across the aisle to pass full-year funding bills that deliver for the American people and address urgent domestic and national security priorities by passing the president's supplemental request.
Up next, we get you updates from the world of sports now. Talking of Khelo India Games, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi declared the 6th edition of Khelo India Youth Games open at a glittering ceremony in the southern city of Chennai with a vision of self-reliant, progressive and developed India. Take a look at this report.
I declare Khelo India Youth Games 2023 open.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi opened the 6th edition of Khelo India Youth Games that witnessed a glittering opening ceremony decked with cultural performances. Speaking on the occasion, Prime Minister lauded the players.
This is a great way to start 2024. My young friends gathered here represent a young India, a new India.
Union Sports Minister Anurag Singh Thakur extended best wishes to the players and expressed high hopes from the rising sports stars of India.
These games are about pushing boundaries and embracing the spirit of youthum. 5,630 young athletes from across the country will compete in 26 competitive sports, will battle it out for the glory, fueled by the athletic zeal and the unwavering spirit of sportsmanship.
The event was also graced by esteemed dignitaries including Governor of Tamil Nadu, R.N. Ravi, Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu, M.K. Stalin. Table tennis player Sharat Kamal and athlete Shubha Venkatesan were the torch bearers at the mega opening ceremony. Around 1,500 dancers performed on the Khelo India Tamil anthem. The 6th edition of Khelo India will witness participation of over 5,630 young athletes in 26 sports. The event will go until 31st January 2024.
So India is now all set to host bigger events as Khelo India scheme has played a very important role in the upliftment of sports in the past 9 years and also its wish to host the upcoming 2036 Olympics. With camera person P. Senthil, this is Deepika reporting for DD India from Chennai.
India's Union Minister for Youth Affairs and Sports, Anurag Singh Thakur, says Khelo India Youth Games provides a platform to the budding sportsperson to showcase their talent.
If we look at the last 7 years, Khelo India platform has truly helped to identify and then nurture the talent in India. If you look at the Asian Games, 41 medals which has come, the Khelo India athletes have won those. That clearly shows from being a part of the Khelo India to the Target Olympic Podium scheme and various other schemes of the Government of India. They have taken the advantage and the benefit, and now they are performing extremely well at the international level. So I'm sure with the 6th edition of the Khelo India Youth Games, we're going to see much better competition this year. We're going to see many records to be broken, a new stars coming up at the national level, and I'm sure they're going to be the winners for the future as well.
India's Asian Games 2022 gold medalists Chirag-Satwik and Sairaj Ranki Reddy alongside bronze medalist HS Prannoy recorded contrasting victories and moved into the semifinals of the India Open 2024 in New Delhi on Friday. Chirag and Satwik registered a dominating 21-7, 21-10 victory against Kim Astrup and Anders Rasmussen of Denmark. The Indian duo set up a highly anticipated clash with former world champions So Woo-yik and Aaron Chia of Malaysia. Prannoy had to fight hard to secure his maiden semi-final berth in the tournament by defeating Wang Zhuwei of Chinese Taipei in a 21-11, 17-21, 21-18 win. The world number 9 will face 6-seeded Shi Yu-Kui of China in the final 4. All right, on to tennis now. In the Australian Open, top seed Novak Djokovic progressed to the 4th round of men's singles event on Friday. Djokovic beat Thomas Martin in the 3rd round at the Australian Open. He will face 20th seed Adrian Manarino in the next round. In women's singles, defending champion Aryna Sabalenka beat 28th seed Lesia Surenko 6-0, 6-0 on Friday to surge into the 4th round of the Australian Open. She will face unseeded American Amanda Anisimova in the 4th round. And let us now relish these eye-catching visuals from London's Canary Wharf district that has been lit up for the ongoing annual Winter Lights Festival, scheduled to end on January 27th. All right, that's it in this edition of DD India News Hour. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X, and also Instagram. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Preeti Kaur signing off, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India News Hour.